Well, the next speaker, when I read his biography, his background, I would never dare to do any doping at all. He is now the Director of Intelligence and Investigation at WADA. He's been middle of the storm. He has the background. There are so many things you've done, Günter. Head of cybercrime, you've been a team leader at Interpol, and now, thank God, he is at WADA. Ladies and gentlemen, the Director of Intelligence and Investigation at WADA, Günter Junge.
Thank you, Jan, for a nice introduction. Usually they are scared, but I know that you're not scared of me, so it's good for me. Yeah, I'm very pleased to be here, and I'm very honored to speak in front of you. And just for myself, and we heard a lot about independence, and I can tell you my background was, first I investigated with Richard in the Independent Commission, and then I was asked to help WADA to create the Intelligence Investigations Department. And the conditions that I took over was, first, I wanted absolutely independence, and second, I want to choose my team. And both were agreed, so I'm still a police officer. So if we talk about influence, if there is one influence in my investigation, I can go back to the LKA Munich tomorrow. So there is no chance to bribe me or whatever, because my reputation, we heard this as well, is at the moment not so bad. So in this respect, I will not endanger that. I was thinking about what I can introduce you in 10 minutes, because my work is more than 10 minutes, and I took what Jan said in the last panel, so what do we do now? And what I would like to do is in the next 10 minutes or 9 minutes to introduce what we have done in the last 1.5 years. We have a small team, so at the moment I have two teams, team composed of two investigators, so one investigator and one analyst. And I have since April one full-time whistleblower manager. I call him confidential information manager. At the moment we are running a long-term project which is about to complete, so I cannot really report on that, but what we do as well is if we have a country where we think that might be institutionalized, we have a long-term project and we monitor what's going on. And then after 1 or 2 years, we come up with whatever we found, and then we discuss with the parties involved. So this is going to happen this year, so I might be able to report about this project in the next foundation board. We have one ongoing operation, global operation with Interpol. We have this memorandum of understanding. By the way, I was 2009 the one on the other side, so I was the one at Interpol. And I still remember I had the discussion with the Secretary General. You know, we had at that moment 2.7 tons of cocaine in Liberia. And he said, from now on, you're responsible for doping. And I said, no way. And he said, yes, you are. Because you get some support and you get stuff. And I said, okay, then I'll take it. And from that moment on, we had doping at WADA, at Interpol. We have this with Interpol. We have an ongoing operation, a worldwide operation on trafficking performance-enhancing drugs. We have involved a significant number of countries involved. They're investigating at the moment, so in this respect, I cannot really give you more details, but as well, we support that, initiative, as I think it's more than crucial that there is a link between law enforcement and sport organizations. Since I started, because it's very essential that you have an overview, I registered every single case. So since the beginning, we have more than 300 cases with allegations registered. Most of them are forwarded to anti-doping organizations. But to give you a number with the resources I have, I can perhaps run 15% or run or follow up 15% of the cases. So we are going to increase the team, but still it's not enough what we have. At the moment, we are running 8 cases, and you can imagine with 2 investigators, and we have complex investigation, as you see in a moment. And as a side information, I put it there because this is the most important source you have, are whistleblowers. All of the cases that we are running at the moment are based on whistleblowers. To give you some examples. I have brought these 6 examples, and you see from the peak as well the resources that I have put in place and how complex they are. Let's start with the most complex one, of course, it's Operation LIMS. As you know, we got a copy of the Moscow Laboratory Information System from 2012 in August 2015, so we could reinstall the database and could retrieve more than 63,000 individual samples, including around 9,000 presumptive adverse analytical findings. You have to know that before a sample goes into the laboratory, then it's a screening about possible samples, about possible substances. And these are the samples that were found. Doesn't mean that they're all positive. Most of them will not be, but it definitely should be investigated. In January this year, we provided all stereo profiles of all 63,000 from the database. And you know, if you're not aware of the database, it's not so easy to get the information out of the database. We shared that with almost 70 international federations. And they are investigating now. So they have to come back. So this is the procedure. When they finish the investigation, they have to come back to us. We look over the investigation, whether it's done properly, and then we give it back to them and say, okay, now you can close, or you have to do this and that, whatever we think that it's still necessary. And you can imagine having 9,000 cases, what we get on a daily basis. It's hundreds of them, which needs to be analyzed and reviewed. That's almost impossible to do it really thorough like we would like, but we do our best that and we identify the most suspicious one, that we are looking more closely, that no one will be brushed under the carpet. The next investigation that we carried out was in Romania. So we got allegations that there are cover-ups in the Romanian lab. So we interviewed 11 people. We reanalyzed hundreds of samples and the blood samples. They examined the documentation of the lab, email communication, open source intelligence. And through our investigation, we could really identify the 2 main actors in the lab, who were at least covering up 2 samples. We could identify them, they're sanctioned and all good. At the moment we are discussing with the government. First we insist that these 2 people needs to be removed from the lab. And since then, or since 29th of November, the lab is still suspended. So if they don't fulfill the requirements that we set up, they will not be accredited. Another case was, and Hayo is here, he's just left, was Dr. Alves. It was in the documentary about a Brazilian doctor providing performance-enhancing drugs to athletes. We could identify the whistleblower and got all the evidence. We were with the highest prosecutor in Brazil together and running this case with the police. Unfortunately, it's not against the law in Brazil to prescribe performance-enhancing drugs to athletes, as long as it's not manipulated, and it was not. So in this respect, the Brazilian prosecutor was quite frustrated, as we were, but he wants to bring this initiative to the parliament, that they should change the law. Nevertheless, we involved the ABCD, which is the NADO in Brazil, in order to make sure that they do everything that this person, this doctor, will be on the prohibited association list. And in addition, we made a complaint to the Sao Paulo Council of Regional Medicine. So we are still in contact with them to see what the outcome will be. Another investigation. In January 2017, we saw in the media that the Austrian police searched the Kazakh team in Austria, and the IBU was mentioning that they are in contact with them and they are following up the case. At this time, it was already running the IBU case, so we were looking more closely on this one, what they've been doing. Actually, there was no reaction since April, May, so we called the police in Austria and said, can we have the material that you provided to the IBU? The Austrian said, of course, you can have it, and then we did our own investigation, and we could identify possible ADRVs without the result of the police against the 9 athletes of the team and the support person. So as there were no reaction until December, we went back with our report to the IBU and they said, you should now act on this. So they launched another raid with the Italian police and in January, and they're waiting, and they suspended at least the support person. But to be honest, I'm not really happy about the results, so we will go back, and perhaps with the new leadership of IBU, something is changing in this respect. Then we were part of the Olympic athlete from Russia invitation panel, so I was there. I only agreed to be there that I could bring my own independence with me, so there was no influence from the IOC saying you have to come up with this result, etc. So whatever we come up, it needs to be accepted. And it was agreed as well that we can bring all our intelligence that we have gathered from the independent commission, the independent person, and the operation LIMS. And we had 1 week to compile all this evidence from all this investigation and to compare it with 500 Russian athletes. And I can be proud to say that the biggest number from the 111 was based on intelligence that my team provided to the panel. And I had to go to CAS and as well to the Swiss tribunal as a witness, and both confirmed that the procedure that we put in place was licit. Finally, the International Biathlon Union, we launched the investigation in 2016. And when we had enough, let's say, evidence where we thought that it's enough to approach the law enforcement, we invited Austrian police and the Norwegian police to Interpol for an operational meeting. We introduced what we had, and it was enough compelling for them to start its own criminal investigation, which led to the raid in Norway, Austria, and in Germany as well on 10th of April. And just to give you an idea about the independence, neither my president nor my vice president nor my director general have seen the report that we provided to the law enforcement. So my president was informed on 10th of April in the morning when the raid took place that this just happening. So there was no influence at all, and in this respect we were quite happy, although it was leaked out to the Le Monde and to the ARD, but after the raid, which at least made sure that we could seize all the evidence. At the moment we work with the Austrian police. They have seized lots of material, and we're going to go through with them and bring our expertise in order to make sure that IBU will be clean after our investigations, and we have very good support with the current management that this will happen in the next few months. And this as well shows that the bridge to law enforcement, I think it's one of the most crucial points, because investigation tools for us is based on interviews and open source. But with law enforcement, we had more chances, and we will have more impact on some corrupted people. And as we heard from the athletes, and I think that's really the case, is that corruption is the most concern. And this is what we are focusing as the highest priority if we see something like that. Nevertheless, as said, it's not so easy to follow up every case, but I would like to finish my presentation with a question. So what would have happened if WADA had no whistleblowers and no investigations as of 2015? And I'm not talking about organizations, I'm talking about persons now. So we would have not have an independent commission. We identified athletes and coaches who were doping and were banned. We had no McLaren as a follow-up investigation from the independent commission, and would have not learned about the modus operandi, which helped us to get the Operation LIMS, so the database. With that intelligence, we were not part of the invitation panel and could not make sure that a significant number of athletes would have not been invited and would have attended the Pyeongchang. We would have not been able to investigate some anti-doping organizations and, of course, the laboratory. And if I speak about, we have a team of 2 investigators, 1.5 year work with that, and I only speak about persons who were charged either as an athlete or as an official. We could make sure, our small team, only us, that 109 people are not anymore in the sport area and damaging the reputation of clean sport. We have a small candle, and I would like to finish with what Jan said to how is the work on the dark side. I think I'm only on the dark side, so it's only bright for me. I need sunglasses, it's too bright. I see too much. But we have a little candle, and we go in with this candle and try to enlighten the room. But it's not possible if we do it alone. So we reach out to, like Norway has a candle, and we need more partners to do that. So please, if you don't have a candle, buy one. If not, I will happy to provide one and a lighter, because only together we can enlighten the room again. And to finish, finally, I would like to refer to the fox in the hen house, and Travis made a nice joke, and we are good friends, so I can repeat it. So if we are considered as the fox in the hen house, as my team, I can assure that my team are all vegetarians because we love our chickens. Thank you very much.